Kids, don't try this down home on the farm. Even back in the 50s and 60s, if you were a farm kid, you were among an extremely small percentage of the American populace. From colonial times through the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and up to the early 20th century, we were mostly an agrarian society. But after that, things changed. Well, for one thing, we didn't all need to be farmers. In spite of the popular cartoon character farmers got the bad rap of being portrayed, none were straw-hatted, straw-chewing, clod-hoppered, hayseed buffoons. Well, straw hats were at least functional. Instead, they were intelligent, efficient, resourceful, hard-working entrepreneurs. Consider the fact that as the nation's population grows and farmers become fewer, the food supply never falters. Half-ass doesn't make it in this business. So, farmers, and in particular farm kids, are a rare breed. You might say, simply due to the hazardous environment they live in, farm kids are also an endangered species. I should know. I was a farm kid. Let me tell you about that. We, my brothers and I, and the other farm boys and farm girls in the neighborhood grew up around and on and in and under very large and very unforgiving types of machinery. We grew up in the company of large and unpredictable animals. Small children were no match for a spooked cow, much less a herd of them. Bulls were far more dangerous. Even sheep were not to be trusted. Being caught in a pen with a mature ram could be fatal. By the age of 3, I had already received my first stitches from a head-on confrontation with a cow. Some years later, an older brother ended up in the hospital with a broken nose from a similar encounter. This was years after he had fallen off the end of a hay elevator and, at one point as a toddler, decided to drink drain oil from a tractor. The history of a farm kid's youth is one of one close call after another, from an infant's first step until reaching adulthood. Every fellow farm kid I ever knew has a litany of such experiences, and I could go on all day about these dances with disaster. However, for now, I will just recall one close call that darn near got me killed in a somewhat gruesome manner. Only quick thinking, quick action, and mostly just dumb luck saved me. I had a lot of shortcomings as a farm kid. Work ethic wasn't my strongest attribute. I wasn't good with cows. As a matter of fact, I never liked them. They were big, clumsy, stubborn, and smelled. I hated milking them. Worst of all, I hated cleaning up after them, which, unfortunately for me, was my designated duty. The older I got, the more cows there seemed to be, and therefore more cleaning up after, more shoveling I was obliged to do. Eventually, however, I developed a new and much-needed skill that got me out of at least some of my waste management responsibilities. My father and brothers learned that I was an ace at driving tractors. Whatever a tractor of any size, shape, or model was built to do, I could make it do it with the best of any tractor jockeys. I could bale hay, chop corn, even run a combine. I could do it all, but one thing I could do best was a skill no one else in the family, not even my father or grandfather, could do. I was an expert at backing up a 4-wheel wagon. It was a difficult operation even for the most skilled operators, and many of them avoided doing it whenever possible. I made it look easy. As a matter of fact, I would do it just for sport. To me, it was fun. All right, now here's how I almost bought the farm. My knack for backing up wagons helped us evolve into a very efficient summertime hay season routine. As soon as the hay dried enough to bale, usually by late morning, my father would begin baling. My job would be to shuttle hay wagons in and out of the field, empty wagons to the field, and loaded wagons back to the barn. While my father loaded the next empty wagon, My brothers and I would unload the contents of the next loaded wagon into the hay mow. After a quick noontime lunch break, we would continue the routine until around 3 p.m. when my brothers changed gears and began barn work, the daily preparation for the afternoon milking. My father would continue baling, and I would continue shuttling wagons until they were all loaded. At one point, we had as many as 4 wagons we could load. My father would then return to the barn, and he and my brothers would begin milking. As they proceeded with that, I would then begin to perform my unique, much-needed skill. You see, evening summer thunder showers are common in New York's mid-Hudson Valley, and early morning dew was heavy. One or the other would ruin a load of hay sitting outside. Now, by the mid-'60s, we had been renting the old Morrissey farm half a mile down Mills Road just around the corner on East Searsville Road. Within those barns, although an extremely tight fit, there was enough room to fit 3 loaded wagons. The 4th wagon was a bit smaller and it could fit easily in a shed back on the home farm. However, all of them needed to be backed in, and I was the family's ace in the hole to perform the task. I was the only one who could do it, and I could do it quickly. My tractor of choice, well, the tractor I was given to use, was a 1939 International Harvester Farmall H. It wasn't the most powerful tractor of its day, but it had enough snot to easily pull hay wagons. Also, it had one other feature that made it an exceptional tractor for this job. It was fast. It was the fastest tractor we had. Being short on power, it took some serious coaxing to get it up to speed, but once there, it could exceed the neck-breaking speed of 21 miles per hour. That doesn't sound fast to you? Well, try sitting in a tiny metal seat between 2 38-inch completely exposed wheels spinning on either side of you with sloppy mechanical steering to keep under control and a full load of hay swaying side to side less than 6 feet behind you. 21 miles per hour is 1 mile per hour short of having a very bad day. The next morning, after a busy hay day, my job was to bring those 3 loaded hay wagons back to the home farm to get unloaded. As fast as that old H could go, I'd head down Mills Road. I'd get to the Morrissey farm, back up to a wagon, drop in a draw pin, and head back up the road. Draw pin, that very important little piece of metal that connects the wagon to the tractor. At one end of the draw pin is a wide head to keep it from falling through the holes of the tractor's drawbar and the wagon's draw pole. At the other end of the draw pin is a small hole through which is placed a linchpin to keep the draw pin from jumping out. Up until one particular summer morning, I never used a linchpin. Actually, up until that morning, none of us used linchpins. Most of our draw pins were nothing more than a large bolt with no hole in which to put a linchpin. Well, that was the last time anyone in a Score family ever used a draw pin without a linchpin. Here's what happened. Do you know what a weehill is? Basically, it's a large ripple in a road. It's larger than a bump, but not really a hill. It rises no higher than a few feet, but it's just the right grade to make a vehicle going at the right speed to become, just for a moment, slightly weightless once reaching the crest. Then, after that moment, the vehicle loses its weightlessness just before the stomachs of those in the vehicle lose their weightlessness, and extracts a collective whee from the owners of those stomachs. Mills Road has its share of weehills. The Farmall H and loaded hay wagon at 21 miles per hour wasn't fast enough to experience the weehill effect, but the laws of physics, particularly those laws of equal and opposite forces, came into play on those weehills with a much more potentially deadly outcome. While going up one of those weehills, the tractor was pulling the wagon. While going down the weehill, the wagon was pushing the tractor. That morning, On that wheel hill, as the tractor and wagon were in between the pushing and pulling, there was no tension on that linchpin-less draw pin. And at that very moment, both tractor and wagon hit a bump, causing the draw pin to fly out, disconnecting that tractor and wagon. Then several laws of physics caused the wagon to travel at a speed just a little higher than 21 miles per hour. I was alerted to the situation when I heard a ping that should not have pinged. I quickly turned my head around and down to see the draw pin no longer there, and worse yet, the wagon disconnected and quickly catching up to the tractor. Even at my tender age, I had enough experience to know what would happen if that wagon body came in contact with those two 38-inch wheels spinning at 21 miles per hour on either side of me. The combination of the rotation of the wheels and the force of the contact would cause the wagon body to quickly rise up on those wheels and come down on me, causing in turn a very nasty, messy calamity. But farm kids, out of necessity, for the sake of survival, at a young age, learn to think fast, to think on the run. At least the ones who made it past childhood learned. With no more than a split second before impact, I figured if the wheels came to a stop, then the body wouldn't ride up on them. I locked up the brakes and made the fastest prayer in human history. Now, something you need to know about the brakes on a Farmall H. Even on a brand new tractor just off the assembly line, they sucked. On a tractor just at the age of antiquity, they're practically useless. However, the split-second prayer must have worked. The brakes never locked up, but they caused the wheels to slow just enough. The wagon body did ride up on them far enough and high enough to cause me to jump forward over the steering wheel and onto the tractor's hood before everything came to a stop. I saw my life pass before my eyes. It didn't take long. I was only 16. The wagon body rolled back down to the ground. After thanking God, I jumped off the tractor, ran back up the wheel hill, and, luckily, found the draw pin. I reconnected tractor and wagon, and, not having a linchpin, finished the trip slowly and cautiously. Back at the farm, the first order of business was to dig up draw pins with linchpins. Never again, to this day, 54 years later, have I ever again connected anything to a tractor without them. Farm kids everywhere, don't ever try what I did at home down on the farm. Oh, by the way, just one more thing. Rules of the road on the farm. Cows have the right of way over tricycles and 3-year-olds.